You're tuned into Soul Fusion Cafe, your place for radiant wellness and soul-forward living. Join your host, Jess Juntunen, quantum healer, intuitive, and midwife to the awakening spirit, as we dive into quantum tools, wisdom teachings, and integrated healing pathways for transformation. You can live a life of freedom to be without limitation. Cozy up, grab your tea, and enjoy this hour of expansion, wisdom, and love. Welcome to Soul Fusion Cafe. I am your host, Jess Juntunen, and I am so happy to be here with you again for another episode of Radiant Wellness and Soul Forward Living. And today is a special day. On this week's episode, we bring in a special guest. I've been threatening more special guests, and there is a beautiful, beyond special guest that is so near and dear to my heart, the beautiful Christina Jobe, a amazing being. I mean, I don't think any labels definitely could not suffice for the magic that she brings and literally weaves into the world as a cosmic seamstress. She is the aura energy shield maker, creator, president, CEO, chief of operations, everything, wearing all the hats, bringing beautiful silver lining and cloth to the world. But also Christina is a healer, a warrior of spiritual light, a Reiki master teacher, beyond quantum healing practitioner, serving people all over the world. Welcome to the show. Thank you for being here. It is such an honor and pleasure to bring you on. Hello, hello.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me on, Jess. It's an honor. It is so inspirational to hear your show, Soul Fusion Cafe. It helps me with my personal growth. It spurs me on, like it keeps me motivated. It keeps me connected with our community. And I love your ability to flow with the energies of the moment and expand that out for as food for thought, as nourishment to soul. And thank you. I am so honored and privileged to be part of this moment with you here at the end of July 2020.
Right? Yes, as we are sitting down recording this, thank you for that. That was just so beautiful. And I do really feel like Soul Fusion Cafe is a conversation in flow with the times. And I so appreciate your appreciation. And yes, as we are here having this conversation, we are at the end of July. When the show premieres, we will be at the beginning of August. And this is a fantastic week. We are transiting at the end of July, going into August. And whenever you're listening, I always say you always receive what is perfect for you, whether you're listening to it in August 2020 or you are listening to it in 2030. I know that there is something here for everybody when we come forward. And this is crazy. Let's talk about that. Like the end of July 2020. First of all, I can't even totally wrap my brain around it. Every time I turn the calendar, it's like I might as well just keep flipping the pages. It's going so fast. 2020, we're already to August. So what's this been like for you on your end of things, this 2020 energy of balance that we know is coming in, that there's this divine feminine rising? And I love to hear, because you're so tapped in, and Christina is a brilliant, beautiful channel that has so much vision. So I really know that our listeners would love to hear from you what your experience is.
Yeah. Wow. I live in walking meditation as much as I can. I mean, I am in Indianapolis, and it is a quite large city. It's like a little big city. So there's a lot going around here. There's a lot of energy, all kinds. It's very dynamic. And I think this year, well, honestly, I was prepared for how we are being called to respond in the flow of this year. I was prepared for it several years ago when my sister had breast cancer, and it I used to be this forward thinker. I would make plans. I would really, I could be really left-brained, I could make a list and really follow it. And so I would make all these plans, and I would expect them to come to fruition, and I would be able to execute these plans, and I would take action steps, whatever. But then when I experienced somebody so close to me having this really, really kind of shocking moment, a very destabilizing moment, my entire focus, my entire life changed to where, as a family, we came together and we really looked at moment to moment, hour to hour, minute to minute. I really couldn't plan my entire day. I was there by her side, helping, doing some of the caregiving, post-surgery, doing all of the necessary things, and so when I was reflecting personally on how I've been able to move through this year, that kind of tragic moment, and thank God my sister is fine. She made it through. She made decisions for her health and well-being that really, helped. So she's here. She's still here with us. And and I'm very grateful for that. So the experience, though, shifted my entire world. And slowly my expectations of future became degraded. I guess that's how you say it. It became degraded over time, where I was forced to release expectation, forced to release control, forced to release maybe even some limitations onto how future is supposed to unfold. And it helped me to be fully immersed in now, hearing the signs, feeling the synchronicities, accepting my role in calling that forward through each moment by choice making. So this year, that practice has really come on a much larger scale. We're all forced to shift from this, like right now, we don't know who's going to school. We don't know where they're going to school. As mothers, as parents, as teachers, and I'm not a mother of any physical children. I have fur babies, but I have a lot of friends that are mothers, and so I'm holding space, and so as it's all unfolding, we're really being called to look at what's now and accepting what is here and doing what we can to shift our inward focus so that we are as calm and in it as we can be. Like, what do we have control over? Well, we have control over how we respond. So that's what's been unfolding for me this year, is I get to control how I respond, not react, definitely how I respond.
Wow, that is just so remarkable. Thank you for sharing your story of having to have that moment where you had to give up all control and expectation of everything with your sister, and having to learn to be in the moment. And that, a lot of those experiences, I think all of us that have had past experiences and practice, we're being called on to use all those tools and things that we have learned in this year. And that is so profound, what you're saying about responding to what's happening and realizing, we don't have any control. It's so unknown. And maybe that's truly how it always is for us, but we like to think we have, an idea and control on what's happening. But when events happen in our lives, we realize that the only thing we can control is this present moment and our response to it. And from there, we build, right? What's going to be coming next for us builds from what we are creating in this present moment. Very, very powerful. And this year is, I definitely echo that. Like, there's just so many unknowns. And as we're moving towards fall, I always look at things really cyclically and holistically. We move into this kind of quieting time and reflective time. But there's also a lot of action usually with, back to school and preparations for winter if you're in, the northern hemisphere and somewhere north. But we have this interruption in our normal pattern, like that's in our faces right now. And I think there's such a gift in what you're sharing that so many listening can gain something from. Maybe you're already doing this, or maybe need that reminder to say, oh my gosh, like I can't control what's going to happen with back to school. I can't control what's going to happen with, people and what decisions they're making. All I can control really is myself in this present moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And when you were talking about cyclical, going into the autumn, going into the season where dormancy, like where life is no longer springing forward, but it's coming to a slowing down. What that speaks to me as a healer practitioner is energy, and how energy never moves in a straight line. It always moves in a wave. And there are the peaks and there are the troughs. And one thing that we can always count on is for everything to flow in that pattern. Now, there is disruptive energy, and sometimes we introduce disruptive energy on purpose because maybe that wave pattern of, different things as they unfold, maybe that wave has gotten too habitual or entrenched. And so we interrupt a new frequency, a new vibration, a new energy, a new pattern to shake up the old pattern, to create a little bit of dissonance, and it helps the old energy or the old waveform to release and synchronize with the new wave pattern. And like when you talk about, when people have low vibes or high vibes, you want to maybe introduce joy and love, neutrality even. And that helps to break up what's not joy, what's not love, and what's not neutral. And here we are also at this transition point, and I always love transitions, because when we go from one thing to another, there's always this blending energy where it's completely magical and it's completely mystical. Like when you walk to a beach, you're partly on the sand, and then you go closer to the ocean, and you're at this space where the ocean meets the sand. And there's a blending of energies, and it's like a blending of two totally different worlds. And, do you go in the ocean? Heck yes. But you have to cross the point where they merge before you can go in. And so if we look at that as a metaphor for how we move in our daily life, we transition from what we know to what we're walking into. And there's always a place where it merges and blends. And I think that that's that 0 point, that merge point, that fulcrum, that that place where all is experienced, because all has to be experienced in that spot. That's the appropriate spot for it. And so end of July, for me, we just experienced the Mayan calendar day out of time. And now, the new year, basically, according to the Mayan calendar and some lunation traditions for the lunar calendar, have taken us into this new territory. So technically, we just celebrated the new year, if you're looking at that calendrical setup.
Yay!
I love these transitions. It gives us an opportunity to celebrate where we were and where we think we're going, but also celebrate where we are, where we've come to.
Yeah, that's so amazing. I love that whole analogy of the transition as being the shoreline. I think that's a really valuable analogy. And but yes, we're really transiting a transition phase here as July has closed out and we're into August. It's very much like the beginning part of this year, the first half offered us its distinct energies, and we are moving into the next phase of the year. And I think August, definitely from, you know, what I'm picking up on, and of course, I know you and I both like to follow Shri and Kira's work and things that they're bringing forward, and our own intuition and our own sense that August will be this transition. We'll continue being in that blending between worlds as we are going, okay, what am I building from now and going forward? What is the rest of my year going to look like? And I do believe August is going to offer intensity. And like you were talking about, for some, you know, it can be intense joy. It could be like intense, uncomfortable feelings, because there will be that, like you were talking about and sharing, that there's that time that comes when, you know, we're going through these cycles and things are disrupted and we don't know what's going on and the new is being built. So there is that feeling of, you know, we're not in Kansas anymore. We're somewhere totally different than we were at the beginning of the year. A lot of people are just going, you know, what has happened to me? What is going on? Where am I? Trying to find an anchor point, but it's in a system and energy that doesn't really exist anymore. So our anchor is ourselves and our heart, you know, we can't find it from outside of us anymore. So we are really being asked to create this new pattern. But how people do that is really going to be individually up to them and their journey. And I think it kind of brings in that energy of the silver summer spectacular or the silver summer spectacle. I think they both work and carry different energies, but the same, but that there's this silvery energy. And it really fascinated me as I watched you posting some things about this. And as we talked before we got on our call today, this energy of silver that is kind of permeating this whole window of our summer experience, and I think supporting us as we move into this new world. The August is this like, wow, here's the 0 point, like you said, like here's where we are establishing ourselves and going forward. Where are we going to be at? But yeah, this silvery energy, I mean, silver has so many different beautiful qualities, and I would love to just hear you talk, because you're talking about the silver lining and the energy of the feminine with silver. So I want to turn that over to you and hear some of what you have to say about this silver summer spectacular.
Well, yeah, that's been unfolding for me this summer because, you know, we had this little surprise that came through Comet Neowise, and I love to know about these things. I want to know whenever silver comes into my, just basically when silver comes up in my world, I always perk up and pay attention, because back in the day when I learned to be, and I was attuned to be a Reiki practitioner, Reiki master, my instructor was very unique in some of her practices, which is what called me to her. And she recommended that I, as her student, do as she does. And she would wear a silver bracelet on each arm. And she said something very simple about it, that it prevents transference. And so that one little sentence has impacted me as a practitioner for a long time. And I always thought, well, why? And then, so when I had the opportunity with Shri and Kira to, you know, take up the mantle of saying yes to Aura Energy Shield and to bring that vision into reality and to anchor it through literally the silver tip needle that is on my machine, silver is a healer's metal for me. But what's cool is, yes, it's feminine. It's a feminine metal. and yet it is electrically charged.
Mm.
And so silver really is a great neutralizer. It is a blending. And when we're going into this, you're going into this extremely amazing and poignant opportunity for the Women Wellness, is it Awakening? WWA Global
Yes, Women
Initiative.
Wellness Awakenings. Yeah.
Yes. Women Wellness. And so, you know, it's a call for the divine feminine to come forward, but that doesn't just mean women. It means men too, or people of all gender and all, you know, identification as well. I mean, you could be a non-terrestrial being and you could take the,
Right.
you know,
Absolutely.
so, but this silver is so fascinating because it does generate this blending of the divine feminine, the yin, which is magnetic, receptive, and allowing energy.
Wow.
And then, but it also has this quality of the electrical. And so I actually think that it's perfect because we're talking about, you know, calling forward your inner lion or your lioness during the Lion's Gateway 8-8. And then the corridor of that, the huge portal expansion energy that, you know, August pulls forward or calls forward. But when you think about 8-8 is a infinity symbol in,
Right.
you know, and so there's this flow, there's this infinite movement, there's this closed loop that doesn't have a beginning and it doesn't have an end, but it does in a way have an intersection. And so the electrically charged, basically, silver is actually a masculine format. So the masculine is the sending, the giving, the open hand. It's the doing. And so silver prevents transference. It doesn't take on and it doesn't send out. It
There's the
simply,
balance of the masculine and feminine energy.
yeah, it literally creates the cosmic hoop of perfect balance.
That is so fascinating. And one other thing I understand about silver too, as you're talking about this, I'm going, oh. In ascended numerology, there's minerals and gems that connect to each of the numbers through 12, and the 11 is silver is associated with the number of 11 in ascended numerology, and 11 is very much about the mirror, the one reflecting the one. So that part really struck me too, you know, that silver is this reflective, you know, people, right, would polish a piece of silver for their mirrors, you know, before we had our modern mirrors, you might use a piece of polished silver, a reflector of the oneness. So that also strikes me, you know, as a way of protection too, even that silver is reflecting back to the viewer, if you will, the reflection of
Yes.
oneness.
And the moon is considered silver energy.
And the
And
feminine.
the moon is reflective.
Yeah, isn't that cool? So fascinating. And
Mm-hmm.
I love this. I mean, we do have to brag on the Aura Energy Shield for a moment, because if you haven't heard of Aura Energy Shield, right, people can go to auraenergyshield.com and see all these beautiful products that are lined with pure silver. It's not just like kind of silver, no, it's like real silver. You can get hats and shawls and scarves and cravats now, and all these different beautiful masks. That's amazing too. And the little pouches I saw for your phone or things, because the silver lining is protective from a lot of refracted energies, a lot of energies that might influence us, from radiation to the 5G, environmental toxins and things. So, I mean, silver all around is extremely protective. But I love that you say it has that active component because it's electric. And I keep seeing Danny Zuko in Greece going, it's electrifying.
Oh,
And
I love that.
yeah, I keeps popping into my head. So fascinating. It's this living metal. I mean, it's offering an interaction with our energy field when we're wearing it, and it's allowing us to be protected. And then you make it also extremely beautiful with all of the different natural cloths and dyes and ways that it can be worn to protect areas of the body. So thank you so much for being the one that would carry this torch, because it's something that is an answer to, it's a response to the things that are happening in our world. It's
Right.
profound.
Yeah, and it makes total sense to me, and that's what helps me be open to receiving the directive of how to do it, because I literally get downloads from the divine on patterns. So if somebody presents an opportunity to me to produce a new product that will come through meditation, and I get a whole packet of like, this is what it looks like, this is the machine you're going to use to do it, this is how you're going to blah blah blah. So I don't really let a whole lot of people touch the merchandise while it's in production, because it has this sacred component to it that many of the times when people purchase it, I sew it up for them like within 24 to 48 hours of their order, because I mean, we're just in a total flow. So I have the parts and pieces ready to go, but then when the person orders it, I like to hold in my mind what they're going to receive from it. And so I sew everybody's energy in with it, like whatever may be coming through for that person. Sometimes I'm called to do things in a little bit different way for a person. But yeah, I love it. So I'm also very scientifically minded. I remember pretty much every little detail of chemistry. When I was in college, I took chemistry, and I also remember different things about like ions and like positive ions and negative ions and things. And so when I got into, I actually make a little Orgonite because I love the process of putting things like crystals and different things together. So I make little Orgonite as well, which is like a negative ion generator healing device. And Benjamin, my partner, and I, we got into it because we were starting to see this major inflow of radiation and disruptive energy that it was like not good type energy. And we started making Orgonite, but then we learned about these things called orgone blankets. And the guy that pioneered this research was very much into using negative ions for healing. Well, we actually are all very familiar with negative ions because that's what you get when you are hit with the ocean air.
Just gonna say the ocean.
Yeah, like going back to the ocean, which I really want to be on an ocean right now. So the salt actually produces negative ions, and so that's why a lot of people like to have those pink Himalayan crystal salt lamps and stuff at home. Taking a salt bath with like Epsom salt is very healing, and that's because it creates negative ions. And what negative ions do is they're charged in a certain way that creates a bond with a positive ion. And so the one particle, I guess, I don't know if it's a particle or what, it's an ion. So the ion that's negatively charged forms like a connection with a positively charged ion, and it basically neutralizes it. And literally in science, they say that it falls to the floor and you can sweep it up like dust. And so but when you're creating like an organ generating device of any sort, William Reich, the guy that did the pioneering research, he said that if you combine an organic like an organic material, say like cotton, and then you combine it with a metallic substance that's non-organic. So I consider metal organic, but it's organic in a different way. So this metallic, and when you combine the two, it creates this burst of negative ions. So when we take the macanas, for instance, and that's organic cotton, and then I mix it with the silver liner. See, Shri, he knows all this stuff. He's scientifically minded as well. And so he knows how these things work on an energetic and spiritual and physical. So, so when those two things are combined, it actually creates an organ generating healing thing. And so I got the download earlier this year in February, before all of this stuff started happening, because I had taken a part-time job working in a paint department, and all of the masks in the paint department were being sold by people that you normally wouldn't see in the paint department. And so this was just a little part-time job to help me get through the winter a little bit. And but it was a divine position, because I started seeing that these masks were flying off the shelf. And so I did a little research and I found out, and then I got that download, you should make masks out of this material, because this material is the perfect thing to zap, you know, and it's antibacterial. It's actually antimicrobial. And so I was like, come on, divine, give me some scientific research that I can give those left brain people.
Right.
And sure enough, right here in my home state, IU, so Indiana University, came out with, just like June of 2020, came out with a published article on electroceutical fabric.
Wow. Imagine.
Right here in my backyard. And it proves to those naysayers that this stuff is real. And it was a response. Yeah. And it was a response, not a reaction, but a response to what we are faced with in this current time.
Isn't it amazing, the things that are being birthed through us now? And yeah, there's like the one hand where some of us just get it because we feel the energy of things. But on the other hand, a lot of the world still needs that left brain science piece, and to have that being explored and demonstrated is extremely exciting. And the masks are super, super exciting. Like, I definitely feel super great in mine. And not only that, but I mean, I get an energetic boost from wearing it.
Your throat chakra gets opened, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Yeah, I love it. I absolutely love it. So much fantastic background on that. And I love that you're inspired, you know, that you're in that flow of seeing what needs to be created. Like, you're open clearly to divine inspiration. And I think it is also such a part of what is happening right now, is we are going into August, as we are in the Lionsgate energy, birthing 8/8. Like, this is fantastic and amazing. And there is this inspiration. So, like, you really said something there that I think for a lot of people, it's so valuable to expand on, that, you know, if someone's listening and they're in that energy of like, how do I find my inspiration? You know, I want to get downloads about what I need to make next, or what I'm to be creating. You know, I'm sure, you know, sometime back in your prior lifetimes, this lifetime, you might have not known that you would be this seamstress making silver lined goodies and medicine for people. You know, so it really strikes me like how much trust you have. And that is something coming forward with this empowerment in August. Like, we're being asked to really trust the intuition, the inspirations. And for those that are listening, you know, that might be going, oh my God, like, where is it? Like, I'm just definitely feeling myself getting stuck in, you know, more of the tired energy, more of the struggling in the muck or the mud to move through, and trying to find that empowered voice. You know, for you, you know, what was it that changed in your life that opened you to the remembrance, right? We all have this within us. It's when we remember it and unlock it. And I think you shared in the beginning, you know, some of how that happened for you. But yeah, what can you share with people from your perspective as a teacher and leader in this world, how to support them in that inspiration and opening to that flow?
Well, actually, I'll talk about the thing that seemed to really unlock the final lock on the door, I guess, if you will. I had been unlocking little minuscule ones over the course of my path, you know, just trying to be ever more mindful than I was before, trying to be ever more open and aware and awake. Obviously, when my sister went through her experience and I was there alongside it, that unlocked a huge gateway for me into my path of purpose, because it took future focus and made it into a now focus. But actually, it was 2 years ago, and it was around this Lionsgate portal energy that I found myself, me and Ben visited Tosa Blue Mountain together. That was our first trip there. It was a big, I had only discovered their show a year prior in August that year. So when I was there, I was in, I mean, you know, when you go there, you're in like solid meditation almost. You're like in this total just bliss-filled, supportive, they like to say, we help you let the toothpaste out of the tube, but we'll help you stuff it back in before you go back to the real world. I mean, not that it's the real world, it's just the very yang, you know, whatever, masculine world. But I was asking all these questions because I'm a questioner. I like to question. And I'm like, how? Well, when I worked in the corporate world and I was in, you know, in investment banking, so very, very left brain, very yang, very doing energy, we were always forced to do these what, how exercises. You had to say what you were going to do and how you were going to do it. And then you had to say what you did and how you did it. Like a couple times a year, it was the what, how exercise. And I was so what, how focused that when I finally decided to step fully into the path of the healer, and to leave that very yang world behind, what came to me at Tosa was release the how. Focus on what you want to see, and focus on a very, very big dream. Like, it almost should be so big that it's unattainable. If it's attainable, then it might not be big enough. But you get to decide that. But really, what the divine, all of our support team, all of our, you know, angels, guides, the ascended masters, the divine entourage, source creator, I mean, it's asking us as co-creators on our path to dream big dreams, to choose what we want to see in the world, and don't worry about how it's going to happen, because how actually limits. If you try to figure out how, then there may be an opportunity missed for it to be delivered in a different way.
And isn't that really what August energy is about? And the Lion's Gate and the lion coming forward is our empowerment. And when we're asking how, we are not in our power, right? We are saying it's got to come from outside of us. how's it going to happen? I don't have enough power to make it happen. I have to know how it's going to happen so I can feel safe. And it's so normal, like in our current world, to think that way because we were raised to do that. And you came from that left brain corporate world where it's driven by that energy, right? Like how we need to see your whole plan and your flow chart and how you're going to make it happen or how you made it happen. We need to know how. And when we start thinking, I love your
measurables. They called it
we
measurables.
need to measure it, right? We need to see and compare, and then that's judgment, right? We've got to be comparing and see, did you measure up? Was it enough? Can we do it again? Yeah, like let's
is it repeatable?
Right. Can we repeat that? Yeah. And I love everything. Of course, when you go to Tosa, if anybody out there is listening that's like on the fence about going, please go, because so much opens up while you're there. You are like in a state of such flow that, like you said, it's like you're in meditation the whole time. The energy is just supporting this open, connective state that all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, like, let me dream the big picture and get rid of the how. And that's such powerful advice. Not even advice, it's just a powerful perspective and perception that it changes everything when we put that on. And this time right now, it is like, wow, what's December 31st, 2020 going to look like as we go into 2021? We don't exactly maybe know. We've come to understand, especially lately, that we don't get to know. But if we can just dream our biggest vision for what could be possible for us at that point or any given point. But like, I like to choose the not too distant future, so it can be like, it's happening. It's not somewhere far away. It's happening. And like you said, we sometimes want to limit it to things that feel like they could be real, you know, but we don't go for the biggest picture, like with the most magic, the things that make your brain scream, how would that ever happen? That is where you want to go for is.
And I would say also that if a person is even struggling having the what vision, then drop into your child self. What did your child self draw as a child? Like, what were your pictures? What were your visions as the child version of yourself? And if they weren't lovely and amazing, like the world sparkling and shining with magic and beauty all around and unity and oneness, well, you know, then if you were to be that child self again, who's always inside of you, then draw a picture now. Make it I did that 2 years ago during the Lions Gateway. I drew the picture of the world I wanted to see, and I particularly drew it in a scribbly kind of kid way. And I put it on the fridge.
Love that. I absolutely love that. And that is powerful right now. Like, what is not only your own personal world, but like, yeah, what do you see as possible for the world? And to drop into that state of the child. And like you said, yeah, that inner child lives within us. We've got a whole school bus full of inner children inside of us that want to come out and play and explore. So if we can just give ourselves time out of time to really connect with that energy of, wow, you know, I mean, for me, it was like Lisa Frank universe.
Oh, me too. I had all the stickers.
Yeah.
And puffy paint. I had puffy paint, tie-dye.
Markers, the good smelling markers, and just really playing. And I love that you said, you know, not having any format, like when you did the actual exercise and just scribbling. And I'm inspired to do that again, because I think here in August, the more we can get into visioning, and then that brings us back to the trust piece and empowerment. That's all third chakra. That's all where our, you know, balance of our personal empowerment lies. And if we're out of balance because we're giving our power away or we're stopping ourselves, and creativity in the inner child and connecting with that is a sure way to open that chakra up to the ability to balance, to gain some healing, to gain an
Mm-hmm.
opening into, wow, like what is actually possible, and open that flow back up. So it's such an important time to be playing with our vision for ourselves and our planet.
Mm-hmm.
And, when we do that, when we're like living in that energy more, we're creating that world that, it might be feel like we're daydreaming or just imagining, but we're creating it because that's where we're putting our focus and our energy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it starts with sometimes a little vision, like how you want your day to go. Well, with the BQH, Beyond Quantum Healing Hypnosis, what we learn about is brain waves and how the brain moves through cycles throughout the day. But the most opportunistic time of the brainwave cycle is theta. And when you're in that frontal lobe theta, that's where you go when you're in meditation. But if meditation's too difficult, then upon waking in the morning, if you can center yourself and think about your dreams, and then just make a few visual references for your day on how you see your day playing out. Well, you can start really dreaming big, and that gets that dream not just in the conscious waking state, but it also gets into that way bigger part of you that's your subconscious mind. And then you start creating from your subconscious mind. And I would drop a line here. Dr. Joe Dispenza is excellent on this brain research, but getting into that theta where you create, and then you can link the mind, which is your third eye, the sixth chakra, with your third chakra, and that's the solar plexus, and you create this like bluey gold energy. And then you literally can create the vortex, but it has to pass through the heart.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. And without that heart being opened as that center of creation, of connection, a lot of people are walking around with a big block between all those energy centers, because that is our portal to opening everything. So I'm so glad you brought that in. And definitely at any moment we could awaken and lift into that heart center and blast off, and we know how to do it. It's not something, again, that's outside of us that someone has to come in and tell us how to do. It's something we are born to do and know how to do. It just takes that key in the lock, whatever that moment is, and sometimes many moments of remembering the truth of ourselves, that we're far bigger than this form and this work day and this lifetime and whatever's going on. And I loved what you shared about starting with the day and starting with visioning your day and what could come forward in your day, and just seeing what would maybe emerge, and that you're seeding your subconscious. It's like a retraining of the subconscious, because our subconscious has taken on all kinds of things that we're running on autopilot, like don't trust the world, don't trust yourself, don't just forget about opening your heart, that's dangerous or scary. So it's like been seeded in the subconscious from wounds in childhood, from what we are taught from a young age, that this paradigm, at least for a long time, was instilling. And that's something huge that is changing and shifting as we have this conversation. Even I'm looking forward to years down the road where it's like, oh, remember when we used to be, all crazy, and now look at like how much shift has happened. But yeah, it's all really served us, no matter what has happened, in order to support us to awaken. And a lot of people have to, not a lot, we all generally need some friction in order to discover. And it kind of circles back around to what we were talking about before, these waves and this new pattern being established, that we're finding our harmony and balance. So whatever's not in balance or harmony, is showing up for us right now in this very powerful month and this fiery energy. It's going, hey, if this is something you haven't dealt with, I'm probably here right now to show you. And I think it brings in that silver lining we were talking about, looking for the silver lining in all experience.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it shakes loose, it blends, and then it attunes. And it attunes to perfection, perfect cosmic hoop of balance and oneness and 0 point stillness with activity. And that's actually the merge point of the heart. That's the merge point of, the divine feminine and the divine masculine. That's the merge point of the sand and the sea. And that is what we're at right now. We're at an age where we're releasing a lot of old, outdated programs, outdated ways of being. It's shaking loose, it's going to merge, and then it will attune. And yes, years down the road now, we're going to be looking at these times of our lives, and we are going to, it's probably going to look like, man, I don't want to go through that ever again, but I learned this, or, and
yeah, what are the gifts that we are being given right now? And that will always lift us into our heart point, into that balance, when we can say, what have I learned through this experience? And look at how many beings are going, I don't want to go back to my 9 to 5, 40-hour a week grind. I don't want to go back to normal, whatever that was. We do have this craving for a sense of normalcy and predictability, but most of us know we don't want it to be what was. So it's a really, really fascinating thing. And for that inspiration to feel, people are feeling the tension right now, or being too distracted by what's being offered up by the density experience, by the current paradigm, as it is holding on. There's the transition that's happening, right? But there's this holding on of some of the old that's, a lot of us are saying we're ready to release, but it's last gasps are here. So it's so important that we do spend time in community. We do spend time listening, consuming things that nourish us, whether it's the food or, listening to podcasts like this, or getting yourself fitted with amazing clothing that is also protective and healing. What are the things that are supporting us so we have less distraction and less bombardment, physically, emotionally, mentally, all those things? That getting really into the moment of like, okay, what am I learning through this? What are the lessons and gifts I'm taking forward? And getting in touch with that vision of like, that's my passion, right? What's our passion? Like, what do we see as possible for the world? And that's where our energy flow can go and put us in that state of empowerment, and not feeling like I have no control over all of this. No, we definitely do. I think this has been so valuable, this conversation, and we're almost wrapping up our time, which is crazy. We have a few more minutes, but yeah, I just wanted to jump in there and kind of try to wrap a bow around so many of the things that we've been talking about.
We could definitely talk longer.
We could. Yeah. What else do you have to share? What are you thinking as we're wrapping up some of these thoughts and conversation we're having?
Well, I would say that, be inspired to allow your personal vision to look unique for yourself, and just call forward how it's going to manifest. Like, release that how, and try and dream your biggest dream, even if it's just the dream is, I once and for all want to be living from that heart-centered space. I want to be out of this situation, and I want to be forward in this new, more supportive wellness for myself with stability, love, compassion, mercy, grace, and togetherness. If that's the vision, then don't worry about how. I also want to say that if your listeners, if our community is at all interested in the garments, the beautiful, supportive, silver-lined garments that we're making over at Aura Energy Shield, please visit the website. It's www.auraenergyshield.com. And I am going to extend the Silver Summer discount, okay? So I'm going to extend it. It was going to end on August 1st, but your show's not going to air until that time. So I'm extending it to August 11th, which I feel like that is the, you mentioned 11 is the silver energy in ascended numerology. And I was thinking, oh, should it be 8/8? Nope. 8/11. So I'm going to extend it to 8/11. So anybody who wants to make a purchase on auraenergyshield.com, we have that, or we have an Etsy shop too. So free shipping on orders over $35. But Silver Summer is the discount code that works on the website only. And so it's there if you want it and want to take advantage of it. 22% off on certain items.
That's so amazing. Thank you for offering that to our listeners, because I'm sure there are people out there going, oh my God, yay, because they get to go explore the site, look at beautiful things, and 22%, that's an insane, amazing discount that you're offering. And thank you.
Well, it's a number of mastery.
Oh my goodness. Inspiration. We are inspired. We are inspired today, and inspired to support each other. And as each of us, I love what you shared, just being in our dream and vision, even if you don't know exactly what it looks like, you just do know, like, there's something that is more for yourself, and feeling into that and letting go of the how. That's where the trust comes in, that we trust the divine. Really, we are the divine in action. Of course, all the pieces are going to show up for us. We just keep walking and expect what we dream on, or something better to come. And hopefully you're dreaming that, maybe you have some new silver-lined beauty in your wardrobe, and you can make that happen. You can take action and get some today. And I'll put links to that in the bio for the show. So if you're catching this at Oneness Talk Radio or YouTube Oneness Talk Radio, you can look in the show description and find the links to Christina and Aura Energy Shield, and learn more about Christina and her work in the world. Thank you so much for being here today. It has been a blast, and I agree, we could have talked for hours, and I can't believe it's already over with. Thank you so much for joining us. Everybody, continue to enjoy your Silver Summer spectacular moment. Roar, August 8th, the Lionsgate. Check out Women Wellness Awakenings too. Amazing community, supporting each other's dreams and this whole planet as we go forward. Thank you again, Christina.
Thank you. Namaste.
Namaste.
You've been listening to Soul Fusion Cafe with Jess Juntunen. Connect with Jess and learn more at her inspiration hub, selfascensionstudios.com, and over on Instagram at JoyLoveJess and Soul Fusion Cafe Radio, or over at Facebook at Self Ascension Studios and Soul Fusion Cafe Radio. Thank you for listening. See you next week. Namaste and many blessings.